What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another match review as we beat Leicester 6-2 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium yesterday, which was a very topsy-turvy game, you got to say that. And for all the winning 6-2, scoring 6 goals, I didn't even think Spurs were that good yesterday, which was crazy to think that we scored 6 goals. I mean, we'll get into the nitty-gritty in a second, but on the face of things, I felt like we never had control of that game up until Conte changed things and we went to 3 in the midfield. Then we really started getting the grips in the game and stuff. But I felt like Leicester did have most of the control in the first hour of the game. I don't know how you felt.
I wouldn't say most of the control, but I would say maybe more of the control. I would say like they were definitely, the game was a lot more open and they were definitely had the ability to create chances for the first hour. I think so did we, but I think Leicester, especially Maddison, was getting in all sorts of positions. We weren't able to contain them. I thought the midfield three, indeed Tielemans and Dewsbury Hall, were finding it way too easy to keep possession and also restrict our midfielders as well. And it was a difficult game for an hour. We obviously got our goals through like set pieces and a mistake from Indeed. And we did have some other chances, but in terms of how the game flow, it was very much slanted towards Leicester. So it was like a very even / more Leicester than Spurs. You'd have to say that. And I think Lloris made some crucial saves again to kind of make sure that we didn't lose control of the scoreline. And then once he made those tactical tweaks, it all changed. And then all of a sudden, that's where you saw it pay dividends. I think even the stats bear out how the game went, to be honest, and I think that's how the game played out.
Well, let's have a look at the stats, and then we'll get into things. But let's see how the stats did look in terms of the game yesterday on the phone.
There you go.
So what are they saying there?
So if you look at the game overall, we had 44% possession, they had 56. We had 16 shots to their 19. However, we had 11 on target to their 7. We had 3 big chances, they had 2. We hit the woodwork once. And we actually had 10 shots inside the area compared to their 8. Most of their shots actually came outside the box. But I think what you can see here is how much it changed from the first half to second half. So you go in the first half, they had nearly 60% possession. They had 13 shots to our 6 with 4 on target. They were very much on top. They had 2 big chances in the first half. We had 1, and so they clearly were on top in that first half. Then once you go to the second half, all of a sudden possessions nearly 50-50. We have 8 shots on target to their 3 shots on target. 10 shots in total to 6. All of a sudden we have 2 big chances to their 0. And so we were much more on top in that second half. So I guess you can argue maybe it's a similar pattern to recently, even though recently it's been drab affairs. It wasn't quite the drab affair in the first half. This time it was 2-2 instead of maybe like 0-0.
Yeah.
But again, it's fairly similar in terms of poor first half. Then we get our act together in the second half, and we end up with the win.
Yeah, absolutely. And Conte made quite a few changes in the game. Davinson Sanchez came in for Romero. Sanchez came in for Romero. Obviously, Longley came in as well for Ben Davis. Sessegnon was on the left. Perisic was on the right. And Kulusevski, Richarlison was supporting Kane. So Sonny was left out of the team. Obviously, Obviously, we all know what happened with Sonny, which we'll get into in a bit. But the way the game started, I mean, I thought Spurs came out the traps really well in the first half. We looked like a team pressing high up the pitch, looked like to have some really good energy about us. But then Davinson Sanchez does what Davinson Sanchez does sometimes, takes a really heavy touch, and then he gets breezed past. Then Perisic gets breezed past, and then he makes a really clumsy challenge just inside the box, and it gets given a penalty. Tielemans, Lloris saves the penalty. It gets the judge to get retaken because he stepped off his line, and then he slots it away really nicely, Tielemans. But what the hell is Davinson Sanchez doing?
Moment of madness, really. Absolute moment of madness from Davinson Sanchez. And it's one of those, it actually happened 3 times during that movie. Miscontrolled. He miscontrolled high ball, or this try. I don't know what he's trying to do, trying to knee it away. I don't understand. He actually had time to take it down if he wanted, or just head it away or something, or just boot it. But he tries to. I don't know what he's trying to do with his knee. Complete miscontrols it. Then he gets nutmegged, and then he tries to recover it with a tackle, and he gives away. And it was a stupid challenge. He gives away a penalty. He didn't need to dive in as well. He really didn't need to dive in that aspect, and that was really disappointing from Sanchez because he's got an opportunity to again show his worth, stepping in for Romero, and he did it 5 minutes in, within like the first 5 minutes, and that doesn't ingratiate yourself. To be fair to him, I think he did improve after, and I also think he nearly scored a couple of times, didn't he? And that was unlucky for him. But I think that moment alone is just proof of his lack of ability sometimes in those situations, and especially technical ability,
composure as well, man. It's just like, come on. Like, this is the first 5 minutes of a game which we've been on top on, and you go and do that and literally just throw away that we didn't have an advantage, but we had an advantage in terms of we were the team on top at that stage. So it was very frustrating. But then within 2 minutes, we're level. Straight out the Gianni Vio playbook with two corners. First of all, it gets played short to Kulusevski. Kulusevski does an absolutely delightful cross, pinpoint into Harry Kane. He heads in the back post. And then a few minutes after that, 10 minutes after that, we have another corner, and Eric Dyer heads it home with a really lovely header. And then you're thinking, all right, we're 2-1 up here, 20 minutes gone. A bit of a shocking start with giving away that penalty, but we're on top already. We're back. We've responded. But then Leicester came back at us, and they were having the chances. And then right at the end of that first half, Sessegnon goes to sleep at left back. Leicester get in, and Maddison with an unbelievable finish.
Yeah, you got to give it to Maddison.
It really was an unbelievable finish. But Sessegnon was just sleeping, and he did it a couple of times during this game. And what is it with this defence? Why do they keep switching off?
Yeah, I don't know. Like with this one, it was. I think he just lost an aerial jaw. I don't think he was sleeping, but it was. He got a bit unlucky with the bounce of the ball. But he'll be disappointed with himself that he allowed that situation to happen. And then you got to just say from that moment on, it's just pure quality from Leicester. Great ball in from the right hand side, and what a finish. I mean, that finish is just stunning from Maddison. It's a moment of magic, and you can't really expect him to score from there, and he does. So fair play to him. You just got to hold your hand up sometimes when someone's finishes like that. Our defence was all over the shop though in that first half, and wasn't just that moment. Right at the end of the first half, Maddison forces a really good save out of Hugo Lloris, and it was very close to being 3-2, and it looked like, if anything, Leicester were going to go and get the next goal. We actually kind of needed half time when it did come, because Leicester were on top. They just got the goal, and they were the ones pressing forward. I think maybe when you have we didn't have Emerson, but he switched Sessegnon and Perisic, shouldn't he? Right at the end of the half, and I don't know why he decided to do that. I'm not sure what he thought was the issue, but
Sessegnon got done a few times on his side. Perisic got done a few times on his side. Maybe he was just trying to freshen it up a bit, getting the players to go up against different players, because they were both getting done.
It's interesting looking at the average positions on the phone. Like it's like set. You would expect here, if you look at the average position, you see Sessegnon there. He's actually a lot more central than you would think. And the same with Perisic. Usually, the wing backs are very wide, but this time, for some reason, the wing backs seem to be quite central compared to usual. And then you've got the forwards a lot wider. Usually, when Son's on the pitch, where Richarlison is here. When Richarlison is there, he's usually a bit more central, Sonny, and then the wing backs wide, and it was a bit different in this game. And I wonder what we were trying to do. Maybe it's because Leicester had that three in the middle. They were trying to put more bodies in there to try and help with the build up.
And also, it wasn't a case as like Harry Kane wasn't as deep as he usually is as well.
And maybe that's but maybe he wasn't because of Son. Because when Son's on the pitch, he's usually the one very central trying to play on the last line. Whereas maybe it was different with Richarlison there instead.
Yeah, I think it's definitely got to do with Spurs trying to take control of that midfield, because we've seen in the past, all season really, how we give up control in that midfield, where we get overrun a bit when we do play against three in the middle. So it was probably a way of Conte trying to combat that a little bit. But there were some sloppy performances all over the pitch. We've spoken about the defence, but I thought Kane was a bit sloppy in that first half. Bentancur was sloppy. Højbjerg was sloppy. I think there were a lot of sloppy performances in that first half. And why does this keep happening? Why do we start games so slowly? Like, why are first half so bad this season?
It's an interesting question. I don't know why that keeps happening, and it's not something I can. It's logical. It's not something that you can logically say, like, for some reason, like it's not a tactic or anything. Or it's like I don't think Conte's telling them you know play shit in the first half and then come out and play good in the second half. It's maybe it's just something like. In the second half, maybe our superior fitness levels are shown off a lot more, or something like that. Or maybe in the first half, we're just feeling we don't want to kind of give the game away so soon, and we're just feeling we feel our way into games, and then once we know what we're doing, then we hit them. Maybe that's what we're doing, but it's peculiar that a lot of the times we just coming out in the first half, even though to be fair to us, we did turn things around when we were going 1-0 down, but we lost control of the game, and I don't know why. It seems to be happening a lot more in the first half of games at the moment. It's a peculiar one, but at least in the second half we are turning it around.
Yeah, and this game was no different. First few minutes of the second half, Bentancur completely robs Indeed in the middle of the park. He goes bursting through on goal. Keeper was a bit caught in bad position, and Bentancur slots it lovely behind, underneath the keeper. And then you're thinking, all right, we're back in the lead again, 3-2. But then again, after that, we didn't have it all our way from then until Spurs made a few changes. And I thought Leicester actually, after our third goal, were the team looking like that they were going to get the next goal.
Yeah, Daka had made a save after a more poor play from Sessegnon. Daka had a header, which Lloris made a really good save. And then Maddison again had a really good chance, which he blazed over the bar. And it looked like, again, if we don't make a change, something bad's going to happen because of that, you know, and that's why he made them early. Sanchez didn't start the second half too well, so he takes him off, and then Richarlison gets taken off as well, and then Son comes on. This is even before the hour mark, so even though he took Romero and Son out because of rotation and whatnot, when we really needed them, he went straight back to them even before the hour mark. And they made a big difference when they came on.
Yeah, 55th minute, Emerson goes off. Emerson comes on, Sonny comes on, Richarlison and Perisic go off a few minutes later. Sanchez goes off and Romero comes on, and I think that the game really changed. It really did. And I think that as soon as we went to that three in the middle, when Bissouma came on, when Kulusevski went off, I think that's when the dominance really started. But when Sonny came on, I think Kane completely came alive.
Yeah.
And he was unplayable at times when Sonny came, because I thought Kane was actually having a poor game up until that moment. And when that moment came, literally just something sparked in him, and he was just like, the link-up play was there with Heung-min Son. It was just like back in last season when they were firing on all cylinders. He was taking it around players. He was doing skills as well. I mean, Kane was absolutely brilliant for that last half an hour, and obviously so was Heung-min Son, grabbing a hat-trick within his first two goals were absolutely sublime. The first one, I mean, it wasn't one of those classic whipping Heung-min Son shots, but it was like, I don't even know how to explain that first Heung-min Son shot. It was unbelievable.
It's like a dipping one. Just I don't know how he gets it in, dips it right under the crossbar, like at the near post. And you think of that from that kind of angle, you're like, should the keeper be doing better? But I don't know how he did it. He had two defenders on him, and he managed to make an angle for a shot and just dip it right under the crossbar. It looked like he had it covered, but it was right over his hand, just dipping under. It's a sensational finish from Heung-min Son, and that was quite a way to mark your return to form. And you just saw, as soon as that goal went in, the confidence filled him up.
Didn't even celebrate it because he was just like, the whole, you could just see like a relief. The whole weight of the world comes off his shoulders, and then he played with a bit more freedom after that as 100%. Well, and like he started running at the defense. He looked super dangerous. He gets that next goal, which was straight out the Sonny playbook. How many times have you seen Sonny score a goal like that? And you've seen him attempt it a few times this season, and he just hasn't been able to pull it off for some reason or another. And then finally he gets that hat-trick with 4 minutes to go, a bit of a ricochet off the keeper, and it ends in the back of the net. We had to wait a bit of a while for VAR to confirm that goal because they flagged it for offside, but at the end of the day it was a goal. But it was just like, as soon as we went to three in the middle, the whole momentum of the game completely swung in our favour, and we were so dominant. Leicester literally didn't have a kick after that. We were playing so well, free-flowing football from back into the pitch up into attack. It was unbelievable to watch.
Yeah, and I think once Bissouma came on and we made that midfield three, all of a sudden those midfielders actually had some control in the game and we could get to them very quickly. The opposition midfielders, that is. When we had just the two of Bentancur and Højbjerg, I felt like they were trying really hard to put out fires, but new ones just kept popping up with the movement of the Leicester forwards and especially midfielders just passing it around them. And it was too difficult for Højbjerg and Bentancur to cover all that ground. But once we had the three, all of a sudden that completely changed. Bissouma, especially with Bissouma, how much ground he can cover. It really not only did having Bissouma allow Spurs to get closer to the opposition midfielders, it also freed up Højbjerg and Bentancur. And it's no surprise that Bentancur got one assist, and then he should have had another one when he played Son through on goal.
Bentancur was brilliant in the second half.
And Højbjerg got an assist as well. And that was all because Bissouma gave him that base level, and all of a sudden they could take it in turns to support the attack. And that was really, really encouraging. And then Leicester couldn't play through us at all. We had three destroying centre mids in the middle, who they know it's very difficult to get through, because they're all very good off the ball. And when you have three of them in there like that, it's going to be nigh on impossible for Leicester to get through with the ease they were before, and they had no answer to it. And that really won us the game. And all of a sudden, it was just chance after chance. And Sonny, with Sonny stretching them with his fast legs, it was only going to be one outcome. And that's what won us the game. It was a good tactical switch. I'm glad he did it. I'm glad he wasn't stubborn like he has been sometimes, especially when we're winning. Sometimes I feel like when we're winning, he doesn't like to change the stability of the team. But I'm happy in this occasion. He saw that even though we were winning, like it wasn't a stable performance, and we needed that extra body just to make sure that they stopped producing the amount of chances they were.
Let's talk about Bissouma, because I thought he was absolutely brilliant when he came on. Conte made some comments about him during the week, saying that he's not tactically ready yet. He's worried about him defensively, those kind of things. And I felt like it was a bit of a reaction from Bissouma to those comments, because he come on, first thing he did was an amazing crunching tackle. I can't remember who it was on, but he won the ball back really well. After that, I mean, he didn't put a foot wrong. Everything he was doing was absolutely brilliant, from tackles, from charging forward to forward passes. I mean, I thought he was brilliant. But do you think that was a bit of a reaction to maybe Conte's comments in the week?
Maybe, but I would say that at Brighton, he's a lot more used to playing in the midfield three, in a 3-5-2, than he is in 3-4-3, which is there are different sets of defensive qualities or tactical aspects to that. Because when you're in a two, there's a lot more responsibility defensively on you than when you're on a three, when you have two men next to you instead of just one. So maybe when Bissouma came on, it was just a case of he's much more tactically aware of that kind of formation than he is in the other one. So, but he did play really well. I think he fits into that formation like a glove. I think he really did help stabilise the team, and I thought it was no surprise that we had got a lot more chances as well with him on the pitch. I think he did a brilliant job being the base of attacks and stuff. So I'm very happy with him. Was there a reaction to what Conte said? Potentially. I would just say that it was a different formation.
But you know what it is? It's just like not just formation, but like he just looked super aggressive when he came on. And
he is. That's what
I know,
he is.
But what I'm saying is that when he started against West Ham, he didn't look aggressive at all against West Ham.
That's because he was in a two, and it's a lot more difficult to do that.
But in a two, you're looking at Bentancur and Højbjerg, who are always super aggressive in that kind of formation. And what we know from Bissouma, he's an aggressive player.
Yeah.
So that's why when we've seen him so far in a Spurs shirt and he hasn't been aggressive, no matter what formation he's in. It's just like maybe it is a reaction because Conte's calling on him to do more of that.
I think he tried to be against West Ham. I don't think it was a case of lack of trying. I just think tactically he wasn't sure of his role, and that's what led to a bit of a average performance in that game. I don't think it was a case of a lack of aggression. I just think tactically he's not 100% sure yet of defensively how that role works, when you should be going forward, when you should be covering your man. These are the things. That's why it's very different when when he's got two men next to him supporting him. I think he's a lot more comfortable, or he's proven he's got a lot more experience in that kind of role, and then he can have more confidence to be his aggressive self and win the challenges. So it might have been a response to what Conte was saying, but what I would say is it wasn't. He didn't do anything in that appearance in that cameo to show me yet that he's ready to play in the double pivot, because he didn't play in the double pivot.
So having said that, is 3-5-2 the way to go for us now?
I think it's a very good formation for us. I think it works. I think there's no reason why that formation can't work. I think we've got the players for it to do it. I think as well, you got Richarlison who can play up top, so you can rotate those three, Son, Kane and Richarlison up front. The only problem is with Kulusevski. What do you do with him? Do you put him in a midfield three, in a centre? Do you play him a right wing back? There's not a natural role for him. That's probably the biggest problem with that formation. But I think when you have those Bissouma, Højbjerg, Bentancur there, you got Perisic on the left and maybe even Kulusevski on the right, and then you got the three centre backs and the two strikers. I think you could, in some games for sure, there's really good balance there, and I think that could be a solution when teams start dominating us in the midfield.
Could you? We got Arsenal next, right? I think a 3-5-2 would work really well against Arsenal. They're going to come at us. We're going to have to pick them off on the break and stuff like that. Would you play a Kulusevski at right wing back in a 3-5-2 against Arsenal? Or do you think that leaves us a bit short defensively? But you do have those three, defense centre mids there that should provide good enough cover.
I don't think it does leave us short defensively. I would just be hesitant to try something new in such a big game. That's all I would say. But I think in theory, with those three in the centre, you can stop Arsenal playing football, and then you got Son and Kane on the counter. If you can push Kulusevski and Perisic really high up the pitch and have them basically like de facto wingers, and then you got the three defensive mids and three centre backs providing cover if they ever get caught out. I think that could be a very dangerous formation, for sure, very dangerous. And I think, especially in a game like against Arsenal, I would strongly consider at least the formation. If even with Kulusevski at wing back, I would definitely consider it, because I think that's a formation that logically can give us more balance than right now. I think teams are finding it way too easy to get control of that midfield area right now, and I think that's leading to a lot of our problems so far this season. Even though we are still getting results, there's clearly a problem with when teams play midfield three, and that's something we've got to work on. But I think that still the 3-4-3 is getting us results, and will Conte want to change that for such a big game when it's got us 5 wins and 2 draws so far? I don't know if he'll I don't think he'll change it straight away.
Yeah, I mean, it is getting us the points, but like game on game, we're coming under more pressure with this system, and our defence is just not looking good. And I think we need more protection to that defence, and 3 in midfield does that for us. So I think I personally think it's the way to go, but like everyone says, different games need different systems. But I think the Arsenal game, I think it should be made for a 3-5-2. I think it's absolutely. I think we can go there and win with a 3-5-2. I don't think we can go there and win with a 3-4-3.
You don't think we can win with a 3-4-3?
I don't think so. I mean, obviously we can win. It's a game of football, but I think we give ourselves much more chance to win with a 3-5-2.
Potentially. I mean, we've only seen it once this season. We did look very good. You've got to remember the state of the game. We're 3-2 up with 20 minutes to go. Leicester do have to throw caution to the wind, so obviously it's going to be a lot easier to pick them off than if you start the game. There might be more of a lack of creativity than if we had the 3-4-3. That would be one thing to look at.
But we also saw it a couple of times last season. I think it was like Liverpool, Leicester. There was another game in there as well, which I can't remember.
And Southampton.
So Southampton wasn't great, but those other 2 games, we played really good football that day, and we were creating chances at will, especially that Liverpool game.
Yeah, and the Leicester game, we were very good. We even had Lucas up front for that game, and we still, obviously, Bergwijn got the winner, but we still did very well. So, I mean, there's in this short sample size, we've been decent, but it's about something that Conte wants to do going forward. I just find it difficult to believe he's going to go with it in the Arsenal game, but I think that's definitely.
What would you prefer to see?
I think I would prefer to see the 3-5-2, to be honest, because I think it gives us a bit more control in the centre, and I think it would stop teams just being able to dominate that area and just play through us like they have been at the moment, and that would help. But then again, you lose that potential up front, with the 3, and all of a sudden those two players, if our wing backs are being pushed back too much in Perisic and Emerson or Kulusevski, if they're not getting involved in the attack, those two are going to start to look very isolated up front, and that could be an issue.
Yeah, it's a very good point. It's a very good point. But like, if we can stop them from pushing us back, I mean, what attacking talent we can have on the pitch. You know, Kulusevski coming forward on one side, Perisic coming forward from the other side, with Kane and Son or Kane and Richarlison up top. I mean, amazing attacking talent there, isn't it? But anyway, this isn't an Arsenal preview anyway. This is the Leicester match review, and I think that has come to an end. But thank you, everyone, for watching us today. We'll be back with a lot more content today, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.